Thanks everyone for coming to this session on ArcGIS Online administration and automation. I hope you're excited to talk about the exciting topic of administration for the next 20 minutes. I guess I'll stand up. We're going to start off because sometimes administration can get a little bit dry with a joke. And this one's one of mine that John doesn't like, but that's all right. So what kind of maps do they use at Alcatraz? Contours? Get it? Yeah? Yeah, good joke. All right. So just, keep that in mind. Administration is a really important part of ArcGIS Online and managing your users. And sometimes we don't talk about it a lot, especially in plenary, because it's not that flashy or exciting, but it's really those building blocks that you need in order to create an organization and a portal and actually manage your members. When you start automating things, that's where you can really kind of scale out the amount of users you have in your organization, the amount of content, and then also how you actually organize your organization and your members. So I'm gonna change to this one because it's more official. All right, so just to go through a few common administrative tasks that we get asked about, and I should have introduced myself to start off with, and John. My name is Kelly Giroux Wilcox. I'm a product manager with ArcGIS Online.
And I am John Yaste. I work as a product engineer on the Python API team.
So we've got John, who's kind of our Python API expert. I know a lot about ArcGIS Online and things that people usually want to do when they're administrating. But we've got some different backgrounds in how we access and solve these problems. So common administrative tasks that people are often asking for to automate are things like inviting new users, updating licenses, cleaning out unused content. For people who have had an ArcGIS Online organization for more than a year or two, usually there gets to be some content that's hanging around that no one's really using, but no one's really deleting. So then also updating and identifying specific pieces of content, so things like marking content as authoritative, deprecated, deleting users, moving users to groups, and then also monitoring member activities. And I'll show a little demo on that a little bit later. So there's a lot of really good tools in ArcGIS Online through the UI right now to manage members, and we're doing some work to make that even better for large organizations. But there are still always reasons why you might want to automate some of your administrative tasks. Usually when you're looking at, hey, is this something I should go through the UI that you've already created, or should I automate? Really, it usually comes down to, is there something special that you want to do that isn't available in our out-of-the-box tools? We try to have the most common workflows available in our out-of-the-box tools, but a lot of times the administrative needs are really specific to organizations. So you've kind of got to use your administrative and developer head just to think about, hey, is this something I could make a whole lot easier? Is it a repetitive process that I'm going to have to run? Do I want to just delete someone's content if they don't use it every 6 months? So it's one of those things that you got to start thinking about, what are those types of tasks that I would want to automate? Sometimes you want to add additional logic to existing tools. Sometimes you want to migrate things, and other times you just kind of want to poke around at things and see what you can do. Can I make a user who's been added to 3 groups and create them a web map before they even log into the organization? Yeah, you can do that with some creativity and with some exploration. So we're going to talk about really the REST API and the Python API. So the Python API is a wrapper around the REST API. Our REST API is how our applications communicate with the server of ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. So you can either create your own tools directly contacting the REST API, or you can use the Python API, which is going to take some of the legwork out of directly communicating with the REST API. All right. So now I'm going to switch microphones again and talk a little bit about the organization portal history. All right. Okay, so I guess to start off, has anyone ever heard of the organization portal history with ArcGIS Online? Okay, So it's this really cool new task that actually allows you to find out information about what's going on in your organization. So what actions your members have taken, have they signed in recently, have they not signed in recently. It's documented in the REST API on the developer's site. So if you want to read more about it and what the specific parameters are that you can put in, you can always go to the REST API on the developer's site. And as you can see here, you're just looking for your portal URL, and you can input specific parameters, like if you want to see all of the history. For an ID, it's really, who are you looking for information about? Is it about a specific person, or is it about a specific task? We've got actors, so that's, hey, who's actually making a change to either an item or a user. There's a quick trick within ArcGIS Online that you can actually access a lot of this information through this download activity log. So you can access a lot of this information. You can say a start date, and you can also state the maximum number of events, which gets up to 10,000. But with the REST API, what you can do is start querying specific date sets so that you can automate something like, hey, how often are my users logging in? Which apps are they logging into? Who isn't very good at logging in or remembering their password? Who's created content in the last week? Who's deleted content in the last week? And then also, what actions have I taken in ArcGIS Online? So we'll take a look quickly at, we're going to take a look at who has logged into my organization in the last week. And really what it is it's this URL that I'm going to input into the browser. You can set up a Python script or really any language to make direct calls to the REST API. But the kind of important parts of this URL to take a look at are right here. So we can see the actions. I'm looking for logins specifically. So I want to know who's logged into my organization. I've set a specific date. So over the past week, I want to know who has logged in to ArcGIS Online over the last week. And then I'm going to get it back in this format of a CSV so I can share this. I'm going to also get at least 10,000 records. So that's the maximum amount of records I can get in a CSV. And then I need to append a token. I deleted it from this example because it looks confusing, but you always need a token if you're going to be querying sensitive information from your organization. So if I go ahead and just open this link, and we'll wait for the magic of Chrome. And well, okay, and you'll see a CSV file pops up. So this is kind of some automated functionality that's just available in the REST API. And as you can see, I can find out who has actually, these are all logins, specific onlines. I can find out which apps they logged in with. So whether it was ArcGIS Online, ArcGIS Desktop, Collector for iOS, and then we've got some custom apps in here too. So this is a really great way of getting a little bit of specific information from the REST API. With some more programming and work with this, it's something that can be automated on a weekly basis, depending on what information you're looking for. So you can really take a look at different aspects and different features within your organization, and really pick and choose what you want to see and what type of reports you can create. All right. So next we're going to talk about how to automate creating and removing users. And this can sometimes be kind of the trickiest part of getting started with ArcGIS Online, especially if you need to get started really quickly and you need to have a lot of users in your organization. Sometimes deleting users can also be a little bit challenging, as you've got to remove their content, their groups, and then any licenses. So sometimes it's really nice to have an automated process for removing users and inviting users. So this is a text-heavy slide, which you can all look at once we post these and read all of the words. But it's basically the scenarios of the users that we're going to create today. So there's really going to be 5 users that we're creating, 5 user types, not user types, 5 user templates that we're going to create in order to get our users up and running. to respond to an emergency. So generally, we're going to have an app creator who creates apps. We're going to have an inspector in region 1 who goes out and does inspections in a specific region. Another set of users who are doing inspection in another region, but are also using Collector for ArcGIS. We've got a third inspector who is using ArcGIS Pro along with creating some content, and a risk assessment analyst who is creating content using ArcGIS Pro and also using the Business Analyst web app to do predictions. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and created this user template, and basically everyone who falls into one of those five personas, we're going to create a really similar user for them. So as you can see here, we've got it all worked out. We're going to have a specific user type, a specific role assigned to the user. We're going to add them to some groups, assign them different allotments of credits, and then also add on different add-on apps so that when the user logs in, once we give them their username and password, they're ready to go with their organization all set up. They should be able to access their content, their data, and all of the apps that they need. So I'm sending it over to John to show how he does this.
Okay, hi. Is my mic on? Mic on? There it is. Okay. Okay, Kelly mentioned how important it can be to automate the process of creating users and assigning them to groups. So I'm going to use the Python API here to loop through some CSV files and create groups and users and assign the users to certain groups. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run this script that creates a number of groups in the organization. And first I'm going to show you, I don't have any groups that are assigned under my login, but I went and I have now run this script that is creating groups, and we can go back here and take a look and see that now I have some groups that script created really pretty quickly, which I'm happy about because my prayers to the tech gods must have worked last night. So, all right, next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through this CSV file. What we've done is create a CSV file that has all the information we want about a set of users that we want to create. We've set up first name, last name, email, contact. We've assigned user types to each user. We're giving them a specific role in the organization, and we are assigning credits to specific users based on something that ArcGIS Online allows us to do, and that's create tags for our users. So I'm going to walk through the script and show you what it's doing, but first, let's run it. And then we'll walk through the script and I'll show you how it does it, and then we'll go into the organization and check out some of these users. Okay, so first thing I'm doing is logging into my organization, and we see my print messages coming up, so the script seems to be working, which is just great news. Okay, so I've set a path to that CSV file, and then I've gone in and I'm using Python to loop through that CSV file, create an object from each row of the CSV file, and then read information from each of those columns to feed into the user manager create function in the Python API. So looping through that CSV. Is this working? No, I'll use this. Okay, so it loops through that CSV file, enters information into those users, and then it's reading those tags that we've assigned to each user, and then based on those tags, it's using the credit manager in the API to allocate a specific amount of credits to each user. So let's go out to ArcGIS Online and take a look at some of the users that we created. So we created a number of users that are that have the username region in it. And so we can see that our credit allotments are being assigned, the user type we set up, and the role we wanted to assign them. So our users are all getting created. And let's go check one of our groups and make sure we've got some members that were assigned in there too. Okay, so we've got members in our group as well. And then the last thing that we're going to show in this particular demo is how you use the Python API to assign licenses to each of these users. Again, we're going to query that tags attribute that each user has, and based on those tags, we're going to assign them specific licenses. And in this example, we're going to use collector, business analyst, and pro to assign different licenses to different users. So I'm going to run this script. And then let's talk a little bit about what this script is doing and how it's doing this. So what I did was create some helper functions that go and list out all the licenses that are available to me in my organization. And then I created and from each of those licenses, I created a data structure that allowed me to look up what I have to assign to give a user that particular license. And then I'm looping through the users I just created, and I'm going to assign them specific licenses based on the tags that they have. So if they're an Inspector R2 user, they're going to get a collector license. And so then we just loop through all those users that we just created with that CSV file and are assigning those licenses. And let's see. So yes, we're getting some feedback that, yeah, my users are getting assigned the licenses that I have set up for them. So let's go into the organization and double check that some of our licenses have been assigned. So I'm seeing that I've got pro licenses being divvied out by my file, and all the extensions of pro are being divvied out, and I've got some business analyst web being assigned as well. So that's how you can use the Python API to interact with your online organization and set up users groups and assign licenses to them, all just in a matter of about 7 or 8 minutes.
Hey, John. I got a question for you.
Fire away.
Can we take a look at your CSV again? Because I saw some kind of weird things in there that I didn't really understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk through it.
Let's talk through that. So when there were roles, I noticed that it said publisher for some, and then this like weird IBBBBBBBB thing.
Okay.
What's the deal with that? Do you want me to...
Okay, so with the Python API, when you have roles in your organization, you assign custom roles. There's a role ID value that is given for each role. And so in order to use a CSV file and automate that process, you need to use the unique role ID when assigning it through a CSV file for the custom roles. For default roles like publisher and user, you can use the text. And are there plans to fix that? I don't know, but it's something we're going to look into and see whether we can do that to make that a little easier rather than adding that extra step of you having to go and look in and get all the custom role ID values.
Yeah. It's also something that's stored if you're looking up, just looking through the REST API and looking up roles, you'll see the role name and then the role ID. So that is something that you can automate in your scripting systems to actually have kind of the name and how it relates to the ID. But if you're working on it, right? If you're working on it and you know the specific roles, then you'll just want to make sure that you're using that role ID. And then the same with the user type, you want to use those user type IDs, which you can also query from ArcGIS Online. All right.
Indeed.
Thanks. Yeah. All right. So that was our quick demo, and please take our survey. And would like to open it up if there's any questions. Yeah.
Does this also work in Portal?
Yes. Almost everything does, except for the History API. The History API is not available for Portal, and that's due to infrastructure changes. But I'd say 95% of the things that are available through the Portal API are available for both ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise.
Are there plans to add the History API?
It's a big architectural thing that we've built in ArcGIS Online, so I'm not sure what the plans are for that in ArcGIS Enterprise. You can query that information from the log files. It's pretty tricky though, but it is something where we have to store all of this data in a completely different system from our portal. So there's no immediate plans to do that, but yeah.
They say, here are the tasks that a lot of people like to do. So where are those template scripts?
Yeah. Do you want to?
Well, we will make these scripts available after the conference that you'll be able to modify for your use if you desire. Like I don't know if there's a set of admin scripts that are already out there. I don't know that location. I don't know if you know of a location, Kelly.
Yeah. There are some sample scripts, so there are some sample notebooks with the Python API that are available right now. So that's somewhere where I would suggest checking. And there's also a lot of samples available either in ArcGIS Online. You can look for code samples or go to the code samples website, which really just queries code samples from ArcGIS Online. And then GeoNet's another place where a lot of people have been creating their own custom scripts. As we move forward with kind of hosted notebooks and more of these administrative functions, we'd love to hear feedback about what types of things you're looking to do. We've got kind of the most common kinds, but most of the time those need to be tweaked a little bit. So yeah, if you've got something specific, please let us know. Okay. Yeah, I think we've got most of it out there. When we publish these slides, we'll make sure that we've got links to where those samples are.
There is a GitHub repo that has samples using the Python API to do all kinds of stuff located here.
Does it have the HTTPS one?
This is the public one.
I think they've made it public.
Oh, yeah, there's a set. This repo contains all kinds of samples using the Python API to do not just administrative tasks, all kind of tasks, and this was continually updated and augmented with additional samples. So take a look here. There's a samples directory that has a whole slew of different samples that will allow you to do different tasks.
And the org administrators is the folder I would suggest everyone who's interested in administration take a look at.
Yeah, and it's github.com/Esri/ArcGIS Python API.
Any other questions? Yeah. I think the question is, can you run the scripts on desktop? Or is it just desktop? Is it Pro?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Python API is with Pro only. You can create additional scripts that aren't using the Python API if you're looking to not use Pro. So there's things like the requests library that can help you construct these things on your own if you're looking to not use the Python API. But using Pro doesn't mean you don't have to use Pro in order to use the Python API. It really comes with, the install comes with Pro. So that's a good place to start, but you don't have to use Pro just to connect to ArcGIS Online or the REST API. All right, yeah.
How much of the history that you built the bank process?
It goes back for 2 years. Yep. Yeah. The search limit, so for the actual search in the REST API? I don't know. We're putting in a bunch of changes to the search at this release, but if you come by the island and drop me your card, I can check into that. Yeah, the question was, will the search API have more than the capability to have more than 10,000 results? I'm not sure, but I can look into that. Was the answer? Yep. Yep, you can use it with Active Directory. John was actually performing all of this with enterprise logins through our Okta, so it's not exactly Active Directory, but enterprise logins, it'll work.
Yeah, just say that again. You don't have to use a CSV file to know.
All right, and so thank you very much, everyone. We've got another session starting in 4 minutes, but if you've got other questions, please feel free to come by the ArcGIS Online booth. Thanks.